I'm so proud of it. When you go to a classical concert, you look at the program, who's coming, who's playing, which symphony.
André Rieu is immensely proud of what he's created. Unlike traditional classical concerts where audiences scan the program to see which symphony or composer will be featured, André offers something entirely different. His fans don't know what to expect, and that's the magic. All they know is that when they come to an André Rieu concert, they'll experience an evening they'll never forget. That's the reason he travels the globe, to touch hearts and spread joy through music. From the outside, it looked like André had it all. A fortune rivaling rock legends, castles that could house royalty, and sold-out arenas in every corner of the world. But behind the glittering costumes, the dazzling lights, and the thunderous ovations, there was a story few knew, one that would ultimately bring tears to those closest to him. André didn't come from wealth. He was just a music-loving kid growing up in the shadow of his father, who conducted the Maastricht Symphony Orchestra. Music was always present in his life, but André never imagined himself confined to a stiff concert hall. He wanted something more, something grand, loud, and unforgettable. He dreamed of audiences clapping, singing, even dancing. Slowly but surely, he built exactly that. In 1987, he took a monumental risk that could either make or break him. He founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra. It wasn't a small chamber group, it was a full-scale musical spectacle. What started with just 12 musicians grew into a global phenomenon with over 60 performers from around the world. André didn't just play waltzes, he created events, blending classical masterpieces with crowd favorites like the Macarena. And it worked. Fans adored it, tickets sold out fast, and soon he wasn't just filling concert halls, he was packing entire stadiums. By the early 2000s, André had become more than a classical musician. He was a sensation, outselling major acts like AC/DC, Bruce Springsteen, and Coldplay. His shows pulled in millions per night, and his DVDs became international bestsellers. Fans traveled across continents, paid premium prices, and celebrated his concerts with the same enthusiasm they'd show at a rock festival. With success came enormous wealth, and André wasn't shy about reinvesting it into even more elaborate shows. In 2008, he made his boldest move yet, spending a staggering $30 million to create a majestic stage set replicating Schönbrunn Palace for a Vienna concert. Dripping in gold and crystal, it looked like a dream. But that dream nearly became a nightmare, as the cost nearly drove him to bankruptcy. Despite coming dangerously close to losing everything, André didn't quit. Slowly and determinedly, he rebuilt, concert by concert, debt by debt. Within a few years, he was back on top, wealthier than ever. He even expanded into global cinema, streaming his performances in theaters worldwide and attracting new fans who couldn't attend his shows in person. By 2023, his fortune had reached an incredible $40 million. But André didn't achieve any of this alone. His wife, Marjorie, was much more than a partner. She was instrumental in the business, helping design costumes, select venues, and conceptualize those signature grand stage sets. Their son Pierre eventually joined the company too, becoming vice president of André Rieu Productions and helping to shape their family-run musical empire into a dynasty. Despite the fame and fortune, André never forgot his roots. He lived in a castle in Maastricht, originally built in 1452, an estate with deep historical significance. It had once belonged to Charles de Batz Castelmore d'Artagnan, the real-life inspiration behind the legendary musketeer. André had visited the castle as a boy for piano lessons, and at the time, it was a dilapidated, eerie old building. But years later, it became the crown jewel of his empire, transformed into a fairy-tale-like estate filled with priceless art, glittering chandeliers, and storybook gardens. Even with his immense success, André never stopped working. His tours stretched from Europe to the US, Japan, and Australia, growing bigger every year. He was no longer just a musician, he had become a global brand and entertainment powerhouse. Yet amid all the luxury and spectacle, André held on to one humble tradition: baking. During the COVID-19 lockdowns in 2020, with tours cancelled and millions in ticket sales lost, he began baking cakes and sharing them with neighbors, a simple act of kindness that reminded everyone of the down-to-earth man behind the empire. However, his fortune was tied tightly to his ability to perform. In 2010, a severe ear infection nearly brought everything to a halt. Doctors were shocked it hadn't happened sooner, given his relentless schedule. The scare was a wake-up call for his family, who realized just how fragile their empire truly was. One illness, one cancelled tour, and millions could disappear overnight. The pressure was enormous. Behind the scenes, the family struggled with the weight of running a multi-million-dollar business. Every show was a massive gamble, each one requiring huge investments in production, travel, and marketing. One misstep could bring everything crashing down. And there was yet another side to André's empire few people saw: his real estate holdings. Over the years, André had quietly built an enormous property portfolio, investing millions in luxurious estates across Europe. Fans knew about his Maastricht castle, but few realized its historical significance or the extent of his holdings. That once crumbling castle where he took piano lessons had become the polished heart of a sprawling empire. Inside that castle, André surrounded himself with rare treasures, like his prized Stradivarius violin, crafted by Antonio Stradivari in 1692. He bought it in 2018 for $7 million, making it his third Stradivarius. The first one, made in 1667, had been with him since the beginning. One of André Rieu's most treasured instruments was among Stradivari's earliest violins. It was notoriously difficult to play, but André mastered its complexities and turned its challenging sound into pure gold. Some of his greatest recordings came from this very instrument. Owning multiple multi-million-dollar violins, André wasn't just a lover of music, he was performing in a league entirely his own. His passion for elegance didn't stop at instruments. André meticulously oversaw every detail of his concerts, right down to the gowns worn by the women in his orchestra. Inspired by historical figures like Empress Elizabeth of Austria, he personally designed each dress. These weren't mere costumes, they were haute couture, with each gown costing up to £3,000. Multiply that by dozens of musicians on tour, and it's no wonder his extravagant vision once brought him to the brink of bankruptcy. That near collapse came in 2008 when André unveiled a spectacular stage set in Vienna, a full-scale replica of Schönbrunn Palace, complete with fountains, gold carriages, real ice rinks, and ballroom dancers. It was theatrical perfection, but perfection comes at a cost, £34 million, to be exact. Not satisfied with just one, André built 3 identical touring sets. The result was breathtaking and financially devastating. He found himself in tense meetings with bank managers, discussing what assets could be liquidated to pay off debts. But somehow, he weathered the storm and emerged stronger than ever. Despite the chaos on the financial front, André's home life appeared serene. He had been married to Marjorie since 1975, and together they raised 2 sons, Marc and Pierre, in their fairy-tale-like castle in Maastricht. Their family photographs adorned the castle walls, a tribute to simpler times. But the Rieu family wasn't just close-knit, they were also co-architects of the André Rieu empire. Marjorie contributed scripts for his concerts, adding a narrative dimension to the music. Their son Pierre became vice president of the company, playing a pivotal role in managing the business. Family dinners often doubled as informal board meetings, with business and personal life seamlessly intertwined. Yet behind the glitter and glory, André's childhood had been far from easy. Raised in a small, crowded house in the town of Meersen with 5 siblings, he had a tough upbringing. His father, a stern orchestra conductor, showed little warmth, while his mother was even stricter. André often felt they resented his natural musical gift, especially when, just weeks after picking up a violin at age 5, he was already playing beautifully. Music became his escape, though the emotional scars lingered, fueling his relentless drive for approval, achievement, and, at times, extravagance. That drive was clear from the start. In 1978, André formed his very first ensemble, just 12 musicians playing small venues like weddings and restaurants. Money was tight, and audiences often didn't even glance up from their dinner plates. Discouraged, André once joked about quitting music altogether and opening a pizza restaurant instead. Imagine André Rieu serving up pizzas while serenading customers with a violin solo. But thankfully, he persevered. In 1987, he reinvented his group, launching the now famous Johann Strauss Orchestra. Inspired by Johann Strauss, the waltz king, who was not only a musical genius but also a savvy businessman with 5 orchestras running simultaneously, André created a single, powerhouse ensemble. Today, his orchestra is the largest privately owned classical orchestra in the world, with more than 60 musicians and a global touring schedule that spans continents. His breakout moment came unexpectedly during a Champions League soccer match in 1995. As Ajax faced off against Bayern Munich, André cleverly bought 1 minute of live TV airtime during halftime. Just before the break, Ajax scored, ensuring millions of viewers were glued to their screens. Then, André performed Shostakovich's Waltz No. 2 live on air. The impact was immediate. The following week, he sold over 200,000 CDs, rocketing from regional performer to international superstar. With fame came even grander ambitions. André poured millions into making his shows not just concerts, but cinematic spectacles, complete with fake snow, cascading balloon drops, and those iconic ball gowns. He even insisted on serving real champagne to the audience mid-performance, despite not drinking it himself, just to heighten the authenticity. Critics often scoffed at the opulence, but fans adored it. For André, there were no shortcuts. If he was going to do classical music, he was going to do it his way. Despite the riches and the fame, André remained surprisingly down-to-earth. He collected Tintin comics, taught himself Spanish during the COVID lockdowns by reading crime novels, and cherished a simple toy truck from his childhood, a relic from the days when he and his brother Robert built cars from scrap wood and salvaged wheels. That truck served as a symbol of where he came from and reminded him never to forget the boy who dreamed big. But André wasn't just content with dominating Earth's concert stages, he had even bigger dreams. His orchestra, already the largest private ensemble on the planet, was just the beginning. He wanted to take classical music where it had never gone before, to the moon. Yes, the moon. André once had a serious conversation with billionaire Richard Branson about building a hotel on the lunar surface. Branson, always one for bold ideas, promised to make it happen. And André? He fully intended to bring the entire Johann Strauss Orchestra along for the ride to perform the first concert in space. It sounded outlandish until he remembered this was the same man who made classical music outsell Beyoncé and Metallica. So how did he manage all this? Unlike most classical groups backed by governments, schools, or wealthy patrons, André built his empire from the ground up. In the early days, he had almost nothing but a dream and a few musicians who believed in him. With no external funding, he reinvested every cent from ticket sales and albums back into his orchestra. Today, it costs over $1 million a month just to keep the operation running, not including the massive expenses of international touring. Every performance had to be a hit, every album a bestseller. Otherwise, the entire venture could collapse. André now employs over 110 full-time staff, from musicians and costume designers to lighting technicians and chefs. On top of that, another 100 freelancers manage travel, logistics, and marketing. It's an enormous machine, but it runs on passion, precision, and one man's unshakable belief that classical music could and should feel like magic.